Hi everyone, welcome to Ask Me Anything session with Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder 197 and Paytm. After his fireside chat that we pre-recorded and played, a lot of you had questions. A lot of you had sent in questions, and we decided to sort of get Vijay back so that you can, so that he can answer some of your questions. It's going to be a short session. We got a lot of questions, but I don't think we'll be able to take it all. But I'll try and take the most important questions. Vijay obviously needs no introductions to all of you. He said he can take any and all questions. He's built what is today's India's most valuable unicorn. So he's developed like a full, and he's willing to take questions on Paytm, what it takes to develop a full stack fintech play, taking on global tech lines like Google. So Vijay, let me start with you. First, thank you so much for coming back and agreeing to do this session for us. The most number of questions that we have got, Vijay, is related to your larger shareholder, which is Alibaba. Paytm is often or the questions like, one of the questions is Paytm is often looked at as a Chinese company with Alibaba as the largest shareholder. Joint parliamentary panel on personal data protection has asked 197 to explain his relationship with China's submit written responses. So in that context, the Ant IPO filing, they talked about, mentioned about having influence on Paytm. So let me start with the question that a lot of people have. How much are you influenced by Alibaba and Ant?
Well, as a company that learns from everyone in the world, the best learning about the financial services sector and the payment sector comes from it. So we are definitely out there who are learning from Asian players, US players, European players, Chinese players, everyone. And I think there is a phenomenal, incredible amount of work they've done. As far as company is concerned, I think this because I'm not sure how people can say Indian domicile company that has is headquartered ROC technology, every other thing sitting in India, and the law of the land and the transparency of India as much any golden benchmark can be put could be called influenced by one shareholder. They are a large shareholder, but they are not definitely the one who influence our way forward or our way of doing business. We are very heavy duty independent board. We are very strong in terms of local execution. I still remember that when I had met Jack Ma for raising money, he himself has said that long back. I mean, I'm talking 2014 when I saw him. He said that would you allow us to take 40% stake? I mean, this share is split between Ant and Alibaba, but I just want to share that overall he was asking that would you do 40% stake? And I was a little confused. Why would somebody ask for a 40%? You typically ask for a majority ownership or a full ownership or something like that. So he said, so I asked him that, and why is this specific number? So he said that, look, as a if you're successful, which we believe you will be a large domestic company, and that means that we want to be a large commercial shareholder, but we don't want to be the one who ever influences you or controls you or gives you anything which comes in your way or your country's way. So I think I can very happily say that um, uh, I think from the first time when we met to today, they have been very, 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 very supportive investor shareholders. And at the same point in time, as you know, we have Berkshire Hathaway, we have SoftBank. Those are also very heavy duty shareholders. If you notice, literally each one of the shareholders have hundreds of billion dollars in the bank. So I mean, and I can say that learning that we've done from our partners, including of SoftBank, including of Berkshire, including of and Alibaba, everyone is phenomenal. Amount of things that we learn from them are really large. As far as the control and operating the company is concerned, that is completely Indian, completely done by us. So that's why we treat them as a good shareholder. They are a good shareholder, actually.
So are you sort of concerned or irritated or upset that these questions keep coming up all the time?
No, anything, any. I started this company 2001 when there was nobody, and there was a time when we were big value-added services telecom players, and then we were listing that company as in 197 in 2010 avatar. So I'm used to of questions, 20 years of learning, and every question tells me that people are curious about your success and people are curious about that how will you be. So more than irritated, I would say that it tells me that we are relevant and people are interested about us.
Okay. I'm just reading in the next question. What will be the impact of Ant's stalled or halted IPO on Paytm's operations? And do you also see similar regulatory pressures coming up in India, like these new norms that have come up in China?
First of all, Ants IPO and Paytm's operations are absolutely disconnected topics. I can only say that as a shareholder of Paytm, we as a financial services company, as a fintech company, were looking up to it, what is happening in China, incredible amount of traction and whatnot. As far as operations are concerned, it does not have any connection at all. I mean, there is no contingency of one over other. When you look at Indian regulators and rules of different financial services company, and overall, I think India is now going in the technology-led rules or laws, so to say, like data localization, like we just talked about in the beginning of this conversation. I'd say that Indian regulators have been far more proactive, if you know. I mean, there is already a guideline on digital lender, if you will, and there is already a guideline on P2P lender, if you will. These sectors have not taken off to become so important on the economic or financial landscape, but there is already a guideline. Basically, I'd say that Indian regulators have been very proactive, very forward looking also. They look at consultations and conversations, and then they have been able to build it. So technically regulation follows the market. In India, I can say that regulator comes very prompt to act upon different new things that happen. For example, like the neobanks are coming, if you will. Now, neobanks anywhere else could have been called bank, but in India, I don't think they will be able to call banks, because bank is a word that is issued as a license entity to a certain particular kind of people. And I think the neobanks in India will be just a commercial app, not the bank app, you know. And now this I can be very sure, because the regulators have been very proactive about different feedbacks, different market actions. So when you look at India's regulation in reference to what happened, that I'd say that Indian regulations are already far ahead. And when I say far ahead, meaning market sense, they understand a lot more in terms of market movement and react very fast. So they understand a lot more than we could assume right now in this call, that maybe they are not looking at it. No, they're looking at literally everything.
Got it. The other question that I would love to take is what happens if going forward Alibaba slash Ant can't put in more money into Paytm? Your second largest shareholder is SoftBank, who also has its own challenges. So if you need to raise money going forward, we understand you have $1 billion in the bank. How long will this last? But if you need to raise money going forward, where will that come from?
So one of the things that, first of all, it has two statements to make. One is about the need of money, then the participant in the money. All right. So first of all, I'll say that if you notice, our investor base is very diverse. I mean, we not only have, like you said, Alibaba and we SoftBank, we also have Berkshire, and we also have T. Rowe Price and Discovery and many other shareholders, which are giant US shareholders in terms of a large pool of capital they manage. I don't think that we've been in ever a situation that we needed capital and that was not available to us. In fact, I can only say this, that Paytm is a success of everybody's belief and trust that there is an opportunity on India. There is an opportunity in India. And then I think India wants companies like us to be successful, which are homegrown and sizable in the world platform. I mean, I'm not going to say this that Paytm is an individual shareholders company. I'm going to say Paytm is India's company, and a dream of India is epitomized into a organization that can go on to the world stage and then build it. I'm very proud of what we built in Japan, PayPay. There we took another shareholder, namely SoftBank, as a JV partner there. So incidentally, what you're talking about is that opportunity of raising money for a company, and then need and then opportunity from the shareholder. So as far as the shareholders, potential shareholders concerned, I can say this is phenomenally well incoming, phenomenally well opportunity of people. I mean, as you know, this success brings success. In other words, if you have more money in the bank, you will get more investors interest. So I can share this on the table, this that if we were to accept everything that has come on the table, we would have got a couple of $1 billion more even after our raising and completing that round that we completed. In other words, we are extremely conservative. If you see, Joji, that our cap table does not have very, very small shareholders. It is very large and key few shareholders. So which also is for the reason that we can build a company for long term, build a company with shareholders which are aligned to the vision and opportunity of this country. Now, if you look at the situation that we need to raise money or not, which I think is my personal execution and team's execution, I'm very proud to tell you that if you look at our numbers previously and today, we started monetizing 2019 as a FY 2020. And that is what has given us, in fact, one extra thing, that now our EBITDA burn, which used to be X, is now actually more than half reduced. And it is because our revenues have started kicking in, because we've started launching our revenue services in 2019. So basically 2019 was a year where we started to build revenue line items, and 2020, even though pandemic has come, our revenues have only gone up. So that's the beauty about it. So I'd say that revenue growth and nearly flat cost, which means that net cost being down, has given us an opportunity that we don't, I mean, we have taken ourselves as a target that the money that we have in the bank will earn our salaries, each of us is salaries. That is what I call out to my team, that we will be a sizable, impactful company if we are able to stand on our own feet, not requiring equity capital. And I said it actually 2018-19. And that is when we picked up this $1 billion of investment. And that is the path that I can very happily say it is only got accelerated, lesser cost. And actually market scenario became like this, that our monetization services became probably apt timed. So more revenue, less cost, and large shareholders. Yep.
Okay. Because you mentioned revenues, I'm going to take a specific question on revenues. Your FY20 result shows that your payment, the payment revenues have sort of stayed flat over the last 2 years. So does that mean that your primary business has peaked?
Joji, we've always said it that payment, by the way, in last 2 years that you're talking about, our payment business, namely wallet, UPI, bank account, everything that moved to the bank, and it is accounted in the bank balance sheet. And we don't consolidate, we cannot consolidate because the revenue is, bank is not owned. So your math is probably, I mean, if you're looking at the cake, this part is kept here now. So probably you know it or not, bank has announced $300 million of revenue. And should I say this, that the wallet revenues and the UPI revenues and the money transfer revenues all are accounted for in the bank. So, well, short answer is that the fact is wrong that the payment revenues is stagnated. The fact is that payments revenues of these three line items have gone in the bank. At the same point of time, our revenues overall have grown because Paytm's business model, the OCL, the 197 Communications, like with the company we talk about, is about bringing in all these services to the customers, whether it is payment services, whether it is commerce services, whether it is financial services. And that is where we make money. As far as the line item of wallet, UPI, they are bank and they're domicilially owned company. OCL 197 doesn't even own that majority. It's a domestic, completely owned company.
Got it. The other question that I have, which I find interesting, is that you're looking at financial services as a next growth engine. And so we have a audience person who's sending this question, that have you been able to iron out all the initial hiccups that you had, be it in terms of launching wealth and wealth management and your lending services?
I think there is a wealth management path that it has started to kicking revenues, because we launched with zero mutual funds. So that not only hiccups, but it has started to discover its commercial model also. I mean, we can very proudly say we are the largest mutual fund SIP distributor in the country. Literally in 2 years, nobody would have been able to achieve that level of direct attention. I mean, Paytm has only landed literally a brand name there, except that, I mean, the traffic is also independently acquired by the team and app there. So absolutely fabulous in terms of execution on wealth product side. Lending product wise, we have two products. If you notice, one is that we have been able to partner with different bank and NBFC to offer customers Paytm Postpaid, which is the consumer side of the product. This is like a pay later product, buy now, pay later. And so the balance sheet goes on the bank side, and merchant lending product, where the merchants who are receiving this capital, receiving the payments, they can get cash advance, merchant cash advance, if you will. And those two products are again doing phenomenally well. We saw some numbers of some industry peers when we look at these numbers. We are tracking better thanks to the COVID a write-off in the balance sheets of people. I have a way to look at it that we don't have losses while people would have huge losses, and thanks to moratorium, that problem would be very large. And our technology platform and our customer base has started to grow in both consumer and merchant side. So that is something which is good. What the delay of launch on lending was, it was a blessing in disguise because we don't have any losses to carry forward or any losses there. So even though it started a year late, like I told you, monetization process 2019 is when we started. We could have started lending 2018, but I think that when we say that we could have started, we were experimenting. This is the question related to that we were experimenting with different business models, different partners. So 1920, we were able to discover all this sorted out, and now FY20 that we are operating, I'm glad to say that instead of losses, we have more growth and customer acquisition, and probably a apt timing that has happened for us.
Yeah, a related question, Vijay. You're getting into, you want to be a player in the stockbroker space. You want, we discussed lending, the insurance space, mutual fund distributor. There's a question that's come in terms of whether the company has the expertise to do all of these things. And second, whether your audience, whether it has the audience, or the users to sell these services to.
Yeah. So a company like Paytm has not born out of a corporate house where they have abilities to do following things or not. I can only say that. So we are the technology company which has been able to bring technology in different aspects of customers' life, consumers' life, and merchants' life. And do we have experience in past? Obviously, we are a first timers in everything we did. Did we know payments when we did it? No. Did we know commerce when we did it? No. Did we know anything that we did? Oh, guess what? None of us had a banking experience before we were given a payment bank license. So, well, being a first time brings no baggage actually. Bringing a first time brings an opportunity to think in a mobile and cloud first world. If you notice, Joji, what has happened in the world is that there is sort of platform change, the customer behavior change. Earlier, whatever is the nearest bank and branch that you are affiliated to and banking services that you are using, that becomes your port of call for literally every financial service. That is the world that we all have grown up in. 2010 onwards, and more than that in India, 2015, or I would say 2015 onwards in India, customers started using smartphone. Now, customers do not go to the same single brand service provider, or let's say any financial service provider that you can talk to seek other financial services. They go to the internet, they go to the app, and then using an app ecosystem, using an internet ecosystem, they are able to get phenomenally well differentiated services distributed through internet. It is also, in other words, metaphorically speaking, earlier you could see something what was your cable provider was providing, any channel, any private channel, any movies they would show. Now, thanks to the internet, because you are connected to internet, you have phenomenally large amount of OTT content provider. And that's exactly what is happening in financial services, giving customers an opportunity to experience large number of differently created, meaning mobile first, cloud first service created is an opportunity of India. And I can say that not just new players like us, but traditional players like HDFC, ICICI, Bajaj, these are phenomenally well-doing companies in terms of how technology, they have embraced technology and they have distributed themselves on technology. What I can say is that this is the opportunity, and this is the opportunity that Paytm stands for. And the number of users that we are talking about, well, I think there was a time when 2012, 13, that somebody asked that, is your recharge customer really a customer on the internet for any use? And my statement was, look, this customer is coming to internet and downloading an app to do mobile recharge, which simply means this person is ready to commit his time, resources, and abilities to do a transaction, which makes this person an alpha customer over a customer who's actually going and walking into a store. So in other words, I'd say everybody who's on internet, which is now more than 500 million people, If we get 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 million of them slowly towards financial services in this country, we would have far better inclusion, far better financial services landscape, and far more stable economy in terms of equitable distribution of financial services. We champion that. As Paytm, we have championed that. We always say we will bring 500 million Indian to the mainstream of economy. We've never said that we will sell them A, B, C, or we will offer them D, E, F services. If we can be the accelerator, and I think I get this inspiration from Musk, if we can be the champion, catalyst, and accelerator of movement of this financial services to the every nook and corner of the country, thanks to this technology built by smartphone, mobile internet, we will be very happy and successful for sure, because that is our vision and mission statement.
Just one or two last questions, Vijay. Just one last big question that I have on. Have you thought about Reliance as your competitor? You've been talking about, local players, global internet players, but what happens if Reliance Jio enters your space, and the spaces that they've entered, they've sort of not only just taken on competition, but they've also beat competition in many of the sectors that they've entered. And now that they have the Facebook deal, which may enable them to use WhatsApp to track payments for Reliance's retail units, they could potentially sort of expand into a full-fledged payment space, and they can start with an audience of hundreds of millions of users from day one. How big is a threat? How big is a threat of Reliance for Paytm?
Well, I see them as an opportunity, because whenever you notice, whatever the business space they have come, they have always expanded the business. And the market players who have to the traditional days of business models, traditional ways of their obligations, whether they are highly leveraged, whether they are not accepting that there is a new norm that is coming in the market, they have got victimized, but market has always expanded. So I see them as an opportunity to grow the market. And in the growing large market, we definitely will be a key player. That is, I think, will be our winning. We are not ever, I've never seen it that it is going to be a zero-sum game or obligation of less or more, but I definitely see them as a champion of growing the market and championing. That means that we become also a beneficiary of their expansion attempts.
Okay. One last question on WhatsApp and WhatsApp Pay, Google Pay. These players, I'm just reading out the question. They come with global expertise, huge R&D base. They have users across the world that they can test their products on. So how do you compete with such players?
Joji, the best product wins. Ultimately, customers do not look at any other reference point, but the product that fulfills their demand, needs, and services. The interesting part here is that Paytm's success can never be labeled as that you are successful in a market that was protected and closed. For last 3-4 years, these all multiple billions of dollars have got poured into our business, but Paytm remains the most dominating force and most dominating brand name and service the customers use in this country to pay a merchant. And I think that speaks volume about our attention to what customers need. I don't think that a competition defines that whether you will be there or not. A customer defines whether you will be there or not, because you will be taking care of customers and everybody else will follow you. If you notice, everything that we've done till the time period, everything that we've done, they are following. We basically are leading the market. If you've seen the innovation, we were the first one in the country to bring QR codes. Anybody who did not accept it finally had to accept it. We were the first ones to bring a payment from a bank account and a wallet account. And anybody who's not doing it is finally now coming towards that number, if you notice that. Again, we have been taking care of merchant by solving the reconciliation problems. Right now, you can see that the point is, Joji, when there is a large market, number of players will come and they will either grow the market or take the pie of the market. But ultimate winner of the market becomes who's serving the best to that market. I welcome everybody in this country so that when our success is labeled in history books, it is not labeled that you won in a protected environment. It is said that you won in an open environment and thumpingly large.
Yeah. Vijay, before you run, I'll take one last question on, because so many questions on Google.
From Google?
No, related to the issues that you've had with Google. Is it more a distraction? Are you genuinely concerned and worried about the dominance of Google in India's ecosystem? Two, the likes of Apple also have they take a 30% cut of all the payments that they've done. Chinese players also do that in their this thing, but you have only been talking about Google. Why is that so?
Joji, India's 97% smartphones are owned by one company's operating system. Which company should I talk about? 0.5% market share, 0.2% market share, 2% market share. Is it a trick
Reading out the
question, or
question.
is it Joji? Is it a trick question, or is it a question based on that who owns? When you control 97% of smartphone distribution in the country, it is not a question on dominance, or it is not a question of that you're talking about 60% versus what about the 30 or 40%. I'm talking about 97% of smartphones in this country are controlled, run, and operated by a single company's operating system. And that company incidentally stifles the innovation. I said this in the questions that Stefano was asking, that the problem is not about that it is wrong. It is great. We are standing on the shoulders of giants who have brought this innovation and creativity in the world. The challenge is when you stifle the innovation and you do not let somebody else move forward. And the answer to that question is very simple. Yeah, I'm bothered about 97% market dominance and rules written by somebody for 97% of us. Why am I not bothered about what is happening in Myanmar? I live in India and my country is governed by Indian government, not by Myanmar's government.
No, I completely get what you're saying. So as you run your global expansion plans, US, you're doing something in Japan. Are they on hold for now as you focus on India, or are they, you wanted to do a launch in US, Canada, those countries still don't have payment players like we have in India.
I want to tell you, this is, look, payments as a customer, thanks to pandemic, is a secular trend in the world. More merchants will go for digital payment and more merchants will go online than ever before. And like we see, whenever such movements happen, the economies move to total. I mean, there is an induction effect of one does, the other does, and that creates a network effect. So this is a momentum of digital payments and mobile payments in the world. And I believe that we not only will be championing this in this country like we are doing, we championed in Japan phenomenally well. I mean, I'm so proud of the PayPay team, and I'm so proud of the Paytm team which executed that together. So what we've seen and shown in Japan is an opportunity for us to replicate in other part of the world. What will be replicate other part of the world? We will replicate the merchant service or consumer service, depends on what kind of risk capital in that country we are able to get. So when you look at the capital that we've raised it for India, and we will be always focused on India with that capital. If there is a local company, local country's capital available for risk in that market, we definitely will bring Paytm technology, Paytm brand name, depending on what commercials, etc. happen in those markets. Now, 2020 is washed out. We were focused on this country, lean, mean, thin machine. And well, why would we not do it? I mean, this is an opportunity. And I think if we have set out ourselves as an ambition of $100 million company, I mean, I'm just saying it, this is sort of a Herakiri milestone that I've set it, that we have to become a global technology company. We have to become a globally recognized technology company. We always benchmark against a global peer. In other words, we were very happy when we saw India's payment technology is powering the country where the QR code got generated in the world. That country's QR code payments makes us very proud, makes us very committed to expansion in the countries wherever we will see an opportunity. Right now, we are obviously under lockdown, and let's see what happens in 2021.
Sure. Vijay, we'll let you run. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you all for our audience for sending in the questions. Sorry we couldn't take all, but I think we've covered all the most important ones.
I'm glad that you took it like a editor choice, because you could read 5 questions and you could narrate them as one question.
Yeah, so I could combine questions together, but yeah, there's a lot of interesting questions, especially on the JV with in Japan. People are wondering why you don't talk about it so much.
I think it's an independent company. It's with SoftBank and Yahoo Japan, and they are phenomenally great partners. Jody, I can only tell you that we don't talk about a lot of things. Like you misunderstood that where is the payment revenue gone? Well, payment revenue gone in the back. $300 million revenue. If you want to add that and then look at the number, you're welcome to do it, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that Joji, congratulate you on hosting this event. I was there in Singapore in person, and I couldn't resist being in this one also. So congratulations on doing the great thing that you do. I'm very, very proud that you, as a champion of independent journalism, is carrying through. And now under the aegis of Nikkei, as you know, you're doing so phenomenally well. Good to be here. I am sure. I wish best of luck for the whole conference. Thank you, everyone who joined us here today.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Yes, have a great day ahead. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.